Hey guys, this is a dry fire exercise. That means you want to make sure your weapon's clear, that there's no ammo being loaded into the weapon, because we're going to work on the basics of form and how to run a pump shotgun with authority so it doesn't beat you up, and so that you can hit what you're aiming at, and so you can cycle the weapon efficiently, rapidly, and be accurate when you're shooting. Okay, there's several things that have to happen all at the same time. It's one of these things that looks simple but isn't simple. So you have to break it down, and that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, you've got a butt pad. That butt pad has to be in contact with your shoulder pocket, in between where your shoulder and your breast meat is, right in here, okay? Has to be in contact at all times. It does not leave contact with this area while you have the weapon shouldered. You never have the gun like this. It's never like this, ever. Okay? It's never like this. It's never like this. It's always, always, always in your shoulder pocket. And what will help you do that is if you have a pistol gun. And that way you can control the weapon one-handed. Okay. For you to be able to get a good sight picture and control the weapon, you need to use your cheek. And you need to press your cheek up against the comb of the stock at all times while you're shooting, okay? You don't want to be like this. You don't want to be like this. You want to have your cheek right on it so your eye is looking right through the sight at all times. Okay, so this is one, this is two. The third part is your support hand, the hand that's cycling this gun back and forth, okay, needs to be in dynamic tension with this hand. By dynamic tension, I mean your muscles are pulling against each other, like this. That's what makes your muscles steady when they're in dynamic tension. If both your hands are pushing or both of them are pulling, there's too much slop. The minute you do this, it's like a rock. Okay? You don't have to be very strong. You can see, I'm not, James Yeager here, okay? I don't have frickin' tattoos all over me like some kind of gangbanger. I'm just a regular guy. And you don't have to be huge to do this. A woman can do this, okay? Anybody can do this. A child can do this. But if you keep your cheek here and you have your hand on the stock with your thumb pointed at the target and you're pulling forward, that does two things. It keeps the weapon in battery, okay? Because if the weapon's moving around like this, that's not good. It has to be in battery to fire. That's what loads the weapon. That's what keeps the breech locked up, okay? So you want to be in battery. You want to be in dynamic tension, and when you press the trigger, that's going to keep the weapon rock solid. It's not going to be wiggling all over the place. You're going to be rock solid when you press your trigger. Okay, so that's what you're doing with your hands and your face and your shoulders. Now you got to think about what you're doing with your legs. Okay? You want this foot that way. You want this foot that way. So you're like this. Okay? And you want to find your center of gravity, okay, so that it's right in between your 2 feet. You don't want to be too far apart. You don't want to be too close together. You want to have a good distance. You want to have your knees slightly bent. You don't want to have them locked. You don't want to have them squatted. You want to be in a comfortable, slightly bouncy, like shock absorbers. Think of it as a shock absorber, because this thing has high recoil. And you're going to have to absorb that recoil and keep the muzzle from flipping. So if you're leaned back too far, there's nothing you can do to push against it. If you're leaned forward too far, you're going to fall over, because this is a really heavy gun. When this magazine is loaded, this thing is about 9 pounds. So, you got your stance, you got your shoulder pocket, you got your cheek weld, you got your dynamic tension with your arm extended and your thumb pointed at the target, and then you break the trigger. Okay, nothing should move. You shouldn't see anything wiggling around when that happens. Now what I want to show you is this is what makes a pump shotgun a little different than a rifle. Is because that forestock has to be moving back and forth, and you have to move it with authority. When this thing comes back, you want to bring it back as hard as you can. You want that shell to fly out of there. You don't want it to poop out of there. You don't want it to halfway come out of there and get hung up when you go forward. You want it to fly out. So you're in your stance, and you pull the trigger, bang, immediately go forward. Don't go bang and then like, what's happening now? Your gun's not going to shoot like this. It's not going to be loaded. Nothing's going to happen. It's going to be useless. It has to be forward again in order to fire. So, that's the motion. Fast. Fast as you can, hard as you can. Just like that. Okay? Do not press the trigger immediately as it slams forward. You gotta wait till you have a sight picture. The motion of you going back and forth like this is gonna make the muzzle move a little bit. If you're taking a long range shot, that's gonna make a huge difference. Now, once you get better at this, you've done it a lot, you're used to it, you can run it a lot faster. And still hit your target. Okay, so that's the basics of how to run a shotgun so that it doesn't beat you up and so that you'll hit what you're aiming at and so that you don't have any malfunctions with how it's feeding or cycling. Alright? Hope that helps. In the next video I'm going to do a live fire demonstration to show you how this works with the recoil, because recoil is a big deal. You've got to learn how to manage your recoil. That's why we do all these things.